Okay. All right, I'll declare the meeting open at 7 o'clock and a warm welcome to everyone in attendance today. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which you live, work. We respect to darken your country. Recognise the continuing connection to these lands and waters and extend acknowledgement to the homelands and stories of those who also call this place. Recognise our future leaders and the shared responsibility to care for and protect our place and people. I remind councillors and all those present that your image and what you say may be broadcast live to the public. So please be mindful of your actions and your comments. You should avoid making statements that might defame or offend. And note the recording of this meeting will be retained online in council archives. Please turn off your mobile phones, switch them to silent, and photography meeting. Anyone observed you filming may be asked to leave. Okay, so we have an apology from the Mayor and Councillors Walsh and Merland. Audio-visual. John's there. Is Sharon?
Sharon just said that she didn't think. I don't know.
All right, well, it doesn't matter. We can still approve that. So I'll move that we approve the request by Councillor Sharon to attend the meeting by audio-visual link as she is unable to attend in person due to unforeseen carers duties. Approves the request by Deputy John Merland to attend the meeting by audio-visual link. She is unable to attend in person due to personal reasons and notes the apology received from Mayor Laurie McKenna. So a second for that.
So McGregor wanted to put an apology in as well.
We also asked Councillor Millen just to go on mute.
Sorry?
If Councillor Millen might just put himself on mute, we're hearing interference.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Sorry, so yeah, I don't think there's an apology if you're not a member of a committee.
No, I know he's not a member. But
All right, you've said it anyhow, Mark.
well, he put it in, so
Yes, yeah, sure. All right, seconder for that. Thank you, Councillor Smith. I'll put that. All those in favour. Sure.
this is it now, Steve.
Councillor Merland, are you voting for that?
You don't need to say something like hearing us.
Yeah. Councillor Merland, can you hear us?
You can rejoin the meeting. Councillor Walsh still doesn't have a link.
Do you want to put it in the chat maybe so that he can see that? Anywho, let's continue.
All right. Well, that was passed with Councillor Merland abstaining since I couldn't see his vote. That would be recorded against, but it's still passed.
Say he's passive.
Well, not sure. Oh, we're just waiting. Oh, I'm going to have to ask anyhow. All right. Next stage of any conflict of interest. Does anyone have any conflict of interest?
None.
No.
No, thank you. I have none. I'll note that there's been no disclosures. The minutes of the previous meeting, they were republished to correct the errors that were. So if everyone's checked them, that they're now correct. Does somebody want to move that they be adopted as true and correct record?
I'll move a motion in relation to the minutes. So I will move the committee note the minutes of the Environment and Planning Committee held on that date. And then a part 2, that the committee notes the following motion put forward by councillor Smith was disallowed by the chair, and I sent that to the staff. So I think I've got a seconder.
I'll second that.
Thank you. So I'll just wait for that to. Sorry, did that come through?
Yeah, got it.
Apologies for that.
I don't think.
So the following motion was put forward by councillor Smith. Item 2.5 and was disallowed by the chair. Please.
All right, that's been moved and seconded. I'll move an amendment, which is simply item 1, that the committee confirms the minutes of the Environment and Planning Committee held on 2nd June 2026 is read in the true record. Is there a seconder for the amendment? Seconded by councillor Stanton. Any more debate on that? Otherwise, I'll put the amendment first. All those in favour of the amendment, please raise your hand. Councillor Castles, Councillor Stanton, Councillor Eaton, Councillor Walsh against Councillor Smith. The amendment becomes the motion. All those in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. Councillor Eaton. Councillor Moreland, I can't see. Is he got his hand up or he hasn't got his hand up? All right, I'll declare the motion lost. We have no minutes, but that's okay. One 1.7. Does anyone want to do anything by exception? There's not a lot on the business paper, so I wasn't thinking we needed to do exceptions. Seems to have a different view, so we'll move on. Okay, now we've got a procedural motion. As I foreshadowed earlier, the committee suspends standing orders to allow for consideration of item 3.1 to 4.7 inclusive, and then considers item 2.1 Heritage and Culture Subcommittee, outcomes of expressions of interest process matter arising in closed session. Pursuant to section 10A2 of the Local Government Act 1993, for the following reasons, debate is confidential according to section 10A2 of the Local Government Act, as the matter arising contains information regarding personal matters concerning particular individuals other than councillors. So is there a second for that? So just to explain it, what we're doing is moving the heritage one to the end of the business paper when it can be done in confidential session.
That question, Chair, we've already adopted the membership of that committee. We adopted the recommendation from the staff in terms of the membership at the last EMP committee. That went to the council meeting and the council adopted the recommended membership of the EMP committee. There is no need to go into confidential. The membership of the committee has been established.
Only the councillor membership was established.
The motion said that this committee endorsed the recommendation of the staff, which was the 10 people, and I won't go into names, of course, but there were 10 people that were recommended by staff to form the membership of that Heritage Committee. That has been adopted.
It's not my recollection. I'll hand over to the acting director.
Yeah, so this was the deferred report, and then we came back to asking for additional costs. So then the cost came back, I think, at the last committee, and the resolution is appoints community representatives to the Heritage and Advisory Subcommittee in accordance with the draft terms of reference for that committee.
No,
This was, and then, yeah, I know, and then at the last council, let me bring it.
proceeds with the appointment of committee members as recommended in the report to the Environment Planning Committee in April 2026. We just adopted the minutes that has that motion, and that is the motion that went to the council meeting and was endorsed, has been adopted. So, you know, you need council to rescind that if you wanted to go down a different path, but that is the resolution of the committee and the council.
It's not, I suppose, what I think the resolution meant.
Well, it's pretty clear. Proceeds with the appointment of committee members
Yes.
as recommended
So
in
what?
the report of the Environment and Planning Committee.
So we have to still appoint them.
Yeah, that's right.
So it proceeds to the
No,
appointment.
no, that's playing weasel words. It clearly appoints those people to that committee.
Why does it come to us if we're not going to appoint?
It wouldn't be on our business.
Anyhow,
We've already done that.
Yeah, this is the report that was deferred and so has come back. That's
No.
what was deferred.
It came
now the procedural motion's been moved. Was there a seconder for the procedural motion?
this paper in the minutes. Are you looking at the
Yeah,
minutes on item
John already-
3.7?
Yeah, it
Do
was.
you want to read it? Okay, all right.
Yeah, we do the report on cost to maintain the
So
heritage.
it's been moved and
I move dissent in the chair. That is outrageous. It's been resolved twice now. It's been resolved at the last EMP committee meeting and then at the council meeting.
Councillor Merland?
Oh,
Oh.
On again.
I thought it was that proceeds to appoint. It's the same as like,
The words are, yeah, proceeds with the appointment of, this is from the minutes and then the council meeting, proceeds with the appointment of committee members as recommended in the report to the Environment Plan Committee in April 2026.
And that report recommended the 10 community people out of the total number to be appointed. It's been done.
As I say, that's not my view.
That's, I think it's very ambiguous the way it's.
Yeah.
been.
So I'm proposing.
And I thought too that we had actually resolved to appoint those people. That's not being difficult, it's being realistic about how this thing's gone round in circles, I guess, and we've now sort of, some of us clearly think that we have appointed them and others believe that we haven't. I'm not disputing that that's the case, but what are we going to do about that now?
Well,
That's
they've
the
been
question.
appointed.
Councillor Walsh?
Yes, thank you, Chair. My recollection is essentially the same as Councillor Smith's.
Okay, thank you for your.
I actually find this quite disturbing that we're doing this now.
Well,
In terms of governance, I just find this, disturbing.
So I'll move an amendment. I mean, the motion is there, it stands. It'd need a rescission motion at council if you wanted to go in a different direction. The 10 people have been appointed.
we need to like clarify this before we can work out what's like legal.
Well, the staff's view quite clear. I mean, I didn't put it on the agenda.
No, well, it was deferred, so it had to come back.
Why was it deferred?
What do you mean it was deferred?
The committee deferred it because they asked for a report on the costs.
And that came to the last.
Yeah, but this report never came back. So the report on the cost came back, but this actual report was missed, so it's come back to this because it's deferred. So we can't
Council-
resolve otherwise.
The ordinary meeting of council has adopted a resolution. So the only thing that this committee might still determine is the terms of reference, but everything else is determined. And that does not need to go into confidential. The membership is resolved.
I have a different view, Councillor Smith, but at the end of the day, it'll be a vote of the committee. What I suggest you do
Wow.
is if you just vote down this procedural motion, then we would just go ahead with
Okay.
business of the.
Councillors to vote down the procedural motions. We can get.
Okay, all right. Is there any more debate on that? All right, I'll put that. All those in favour of the motion? Is the procedural motion?
No, I'm not. The other way around, I'm getting.
Okay. Councillor Scanton, Councillor Eaton, against. Councillor Smith, Councillor Walsh, Councillor Castle. So the motion is lost. So we'll just continue on with the business of the committee as listed. So the next item, we go back to the normal order. That's 2.1.
That is that item. So I would move a resolution in terms.
Yeah, it'll need a different motion now.
Yeah. So notes that the council has resolved the membership of the Heritage and Culture Advisory Committee, and 2, that the committee adopts the draft terms of reference or terms of reference of the Heritage and Culture Advisory Committee as in attachment 1.
All right, it's a seconder for that.
Second.
No, let's not go back. Let's go.
I didn't say go back.
No, but I know what you're thinking.
We've got, yeah, okay, we need the wording. Councillor Merland.
Yes, yes, Councillor Eaton.
Thank you. We can hear you now. Good.
Yeah, aside from my internet connection, so.
So there's, did you hear the debate about the last item?
Chair, we've got a motion on the floor.
I'm waiting for it to come up.
Yeah. So can you deal with?
Trying to bring Councillor Merland up to speed about what the committee was doing. Smith. Councillor Merland, if you didn't hear, there was some debate about whether the members of the committee had already been appointed or not. The committee passed, what resolution was that the majority view was that they had been appointed, and this resolution, this motion now by Councillor Smith is to appoint, is to adopt the terms of reference only.
So sorry, part 1 was note that the committee membership has been finalised by council at its meeting, the June meetings.
9th, was it?
29th of June.
That couldn't be this.
And 2, just part 3, adopts the terms of reference as provided in attachment 1.
Chair, can I get clarification from the director? Look, I apologise, I dropped out. Can I get clarification from the director? Were the committee members already agreed upon?
Yes, the minutes have been agreed.
But the minutes were not. We were.
Well, no, the minutes were passed.
Yeah, so originally it was adopted. It was deferred and then seeking a report on the costs. That report came back to the last EMP committee, and as part of that, a resolution was passed by the committee that went to the ordinary council meeting and was adopted as part of the minutes.
Council meeting.
The resolution was that notes the resolution of April 26 to proceed with the establishment of a Heritage and Cultural Subcommittee, proceeds with the appointment of community members as recommended in the report to the Environment and Planning Committee in April, and then confirms Councillor Eaton as chairperson, Councillor Neal, Councillor McGregor and Councillor Smith as members of the committee, and convenes the first meeting of the subcommittee no later than August 2026. So that's what was resolved.
And sorry, just for clarification, did we resolve who made up that committee by names?
Yes, we had.
Only the councillors.
Hang on. One councillor through the chair. I assume the question was to the acting director.
Yes, that's correct.
The names of the community members are not in the resolution, but the resolution is that it proceeds with the appointment of community members as recommended in the report to the Environment Planning Committee in April 26.
Thank you.
And if it's a procedural motion to lay it on the table until we get maybe advice from governance on which way we need to proceed, and then we can pick it back up either or defer it back to council to finalise.
Chair, it's a resolution of council. It's a resolution.
I genuinely think.
Councillor Smith,
Sure.
we appreciate your, I don't think it's clear, but the committee has made a decision, so we're still going down this track if you want it. So, yes, Councillor Merlin?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. So before I dropped out, I think we're going to have that discussion confidential about the individuals. Is that correct?
Well,
Yeah.
that's what was going to happen, but we lost that. The committee decided in a 3-2 vote that the members had been appointed, and therefore there was no need to go to confidential.
Okay,
No.
I must be, I'm a little bit confused. So have they been appointed or not? Based on what the directors have said.
Well, remember, whatever this committee says,
Wow, this is
it's
so.
it's only a recommendation to the ordinary council meeting anyhow.
I think we should lay it on the table.
I think what we should do, given that,
This is just about delaying. This is dreadful.
yes, thank you, Councillor Walsh. What I'm proposing to do, and we might need a procedure motion to recommit the previous motion. Given that
Oh,
Councillor
Lord.
wasn't available.
Go into confidential. I don't think it's about whether it's in confidential or not. I think we need to lay it on the table to get advice from staff and governance as to what the council resolution intentions were. I think that's what we need, not about a confidential session. I think we need to get advice from people that are not necessarily in this room right now.
Is that wording unclear in the council resolution to you?
I think it's unclear.
How is it unclear?
Because it's to proceed with the establishment and to proceed with the appointment. We need to now do the appointing.
No, that's ridiculous.
That's how we've done every other committee. That's how we've allocated the people each time.
All right, well, I'm happy. Councillor Stanton, if you want to move a procedure motion to lay it on the table.
Yeah.
Can I just ask a question for further clarification, if we can get any kind of clear clarification? Like, did you find it unclear on the night, Councillor Stanton?
No, I thought that it was proceeding here. I thought that was pretty clear. That's why I understood it, that it was proceeding it at the environment and planning in accordance with the report, which is where we are now. And so I came here with the intention that we were going to be discussing the items on the report, which includes the appointment of the people, which presumably would be in confidential session. But I understood it to be here, just like every other committee that we've ever done has been the same way.
But Councillor Stanton, do you understand it was here first? It was here at the last meeting? That was the resolution. Were you not at that meeting?
And we're here now in that meeting at the last council meeting, which says it in the minutes.
And the
which are
meeting
on my
before
screen.
the E&P committee.
Do it here.
The last.
I've moved a procedural
That's
motion.
right. We're not getting anywhere. The procedure motion's been moved. I'll second it.
My goodness.
We're simply talking across each other. There's no point, I think, in further debate. So I'll put the procedure motion that this matter is laid on the table pending clarification
Wow.
of whether the members have been appointed or not. Those in favour of the procedural motion laid on the table, please raise your hand. Councillor Millen, Councillor Stanton, Councillor Eaton. Against, Councillor Smith, Councillor Castles, Councillor Walsh. I declare that the motion carried. So we'll move. Oh, and on casting vote.
Did you clarify it was carried on a casting vote?
Yes.
Your
Yes.
casting vote?
I did. Thank you, Councillor Walsh.
If
I
you
did.
could say that more clearly.
I apologise. I will try and say it more clearly. And I agree, it was a little bit after the event, so I apologise for that. Okay. Okay, so I think we're on to 3. Am I right?
Yes.
The subcommittee reports and recommendation. So the recommendation is simply to receive a note of minutes. Councillor Smith, you happy with that?
Yeah.
Have you moved that way?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Mooland. All right, but I've just got one question. I noticed there's general business
Yes.
in this committee, and I didn't think general business was allowed in committee meetings.
I'll call it something else next time then. Yeah, no worries.
Well, I thought it had to be on the agenda. That was the issue. It's got to be
Oh.
on, because you've got to give notice. So maybe staff could take that on board. I'm not proposing to do anything else. Hearing that. All right, is there any discussion on that? No, all right, I'll put that. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Councillor Walsh, you voting for this is to adopt the minutes?
No, I'm not.
Okay. All right, those in favour are Councillor Smith, Councillor Eaton, Councillor Stanton, Councillor Castle, Councillor Merland. Against Councillor Walsh. I'll declare that carried. Next item is 4.1, proposed miscellaneous amendments to the Central Coast Development Control Plan. And I might ask the Acting Director to speak to this report, I think.
So, through you, Chair, this was the outcome of the exhibition of some amendments that we've made to Council's Developer Control Plan. So it was exhibited between the 15th of April and the 15th of May. And it primarily looked at things that just needed simple clarification, a few typos, clearer guidance, and greater consistency through Council's DCP, and also to support the accelerated development application process that's just started on the 1st of July. So we had 16 submissions that came through. And as a part of those, we have made some additional changes, which was just to make sure that a consistent 14-day exhibition period for local development is considered, and that it can be extended on a case-by-case basis, but it wasn't consistent everywhere. So we just made it all 14 days. Clarification points on building information certificates, additional wording for clarifying consideration of environmental impacts for development applications, and retention of Chapter 2.6 commercial hydroponics. They were the main changes for that. But yeah, there is a table in the report that went through all the feedback that we got and how we've addressed that. And I think the important part of this will be an ongoing rolling program as well. So Council will continue to work on amendments that we get, through our DA process or raised by the community also as well. Any questions?
Yeah, through you, Chair. I noticed in looking through the tables, etc., that there was this phrase of what was considered little environmental impact. Are you able to give a bit more detail about how that decision is made, whether there's, whether something is considered with little or no environmental impact? How it sort of sounded a bit I mean, I'm not saying it is, that's what I'm asking, is what the process behind that is. Just sort of sounded a bit other statement vague, but whereas I'm sure there's a lot behind it. Are you able to give us a bit more insight?
Through you, Chair, I might just defer to Rod Mergen, whose project this is.
Thanks. Yeah, that was actually an existing problem, Councillor, within the DCP, because the wording was in there and we didn't have wording around that, and we had to actually find some wording where our staff could actually grab hold of and say, well, this is how we assess it. So we've actually, to add some words, I'll just do that on. We had no particular definition on that. And it's very hard. We basically say there's wording there now that will say that the staff who are assessing it look at any changes, physical environment, and any impact the amenities surrounding properties. Now, it's always subjective, subjectivity. It will only be. It's very rare that it's usually if there's a variation to the DCP or something like that where you would actually have to worry about that type of thing. In this instance, and that's where you might want to apply this, whether it's a very minor impact.
What would be an example of that?
So I suppose a good example when I was talking to developer staff about this issue was where you've got a development that's nowhere near anyone else, has no physical or it doesn't, no neighbours can see the property. Somebody's building a house and there might be a slight variation in eve or something might encroach, need a variation in the DCP because it's something 30 millimetres too far away.
Okay.
So that's where they would go, well, why are we going through an exhibition process, an extended process when it's not having any?
Okay.
And that would be this is very good. They'll err on the side of caution when it comes to exhibition. It's only those situations where we need to be able to apply this is where it just there's no need to go through that process to delay somebody's development application when there's no impact on any neighbouring property or any environmental impact that's going to cause any issues to the physical environment.
Okay.
So that's the intent with that.
Okay, thank you.
I've got a
Yes.
couple of questions. So can I just ask, and I'm not sure when I'm doing this too. So 4.3, the Terrigal Village Centre one. I'm asking about that. It talks about the map is incorrect and does not match the height of buildings provisions under the LEP. I thought that Terrigal Village Centre was to do with the Terrigal Bowl strategic plan. Is that still in place or not still in place? And what that did was allowed additional height for consolidated lots. Is that still in the LEP and DCP? Do we know?
Thanks.
Oh, yes, sorry, through you, Rod.
This is just an issue, Councillor Smith, where a boundary was incorrect. There's the Rapido site. I don't know if you're aware of the Rapido site. And it was where it's not part of the Terrigal Village Centre DCP. And this was just an issue where a line was in the wrong place, was brought up.
So just an incorrect boundary.
Yes, that's right. It was just brought up when it was being assessed, and the development application was being assessed at the time, a couple of years ago. And this is how a lot of it built up when somebody's assessed an application. So the assessing officer approached us and said, this line is not representing the site boundaries for the Terrigal Village Centre correctly. So we just made a slight amendment to the map.
Okay, could you, sorry, next one, could you explain the Liz Road, Toomey's Road one? It's got outdated chapter 2.
Okay, so that's, once again, that's just a single DCP, very, very old, probably 20, 25 years old. There was one DCP, my understanding, one house on one site. It's actually been built, not completely done, completed. There's nothing else is going to, it's no, that development's completed. We're not going to, that DCP is required.
But if somebody comes back and wants to redevelop that site, wouldn't it be relevant then? And I guess my particular interest in that one is in that area is land identified for cause. And so I'm just wondering if this is impacting that by removing a control that maintains the current status of that land, if it were to be identified for cause at some point.
If you don't mind, Council, because there's
Yeah,
one.
and I'm not sure if it's the Toomey's Road. And sorry, I'm looking at Mr. Sulkowski. I don't know whether he knows what I'm talking about or not. And I'm not sure if it's the lot that was wanted for cause or not. But
through you, Mr. Chair.
no, I don't know.
I'm not familiar enough with the site in question here. The lot we're identifying for acquisition that went to council last year, I think, was 2 Toomey's Road.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering if this is relevant to that one. And it may still not change the circumstances, but it might. It might remove some controls that need to be maintained, is my concern, because it's removing that whole chapter. Do you want me to come back to that one or just?
That would be okay, because it's been a while since I've looked at that.
Why don't you do it, because I've got plenty more for you. Gosford Racecourse, what's the story there?
Once again, completed. Nothing. But I think that DCP is out of date. It was to do with. There we go. Second.
Okay, look, I can skip that one. I'm kind of satisfied with that.
The Toomey's Road.
Yeah.
Is for, number 4 Toomey's Road, and the only control it includes, lot 4, is that any dwelling house, outbuildings and other structures are to be located a minimum of 8 metres and a maximum of 40 metres from Toomey's Road. That's the only control it includes. Doesn't include anything else.
Okay. All right, and it would be on the one. Is there still a 149 certificate? Would it still be on that if it was identified for cause?
Yeah. Through you, Mr. Chairperson, I think 10.7 now, is it? 10.7
Yeah.
But it would still be
part
identified.
2 or whatever. Yeah.
Still be identified if it was the case.
I believe.
Yeah. You want to go to somebody else, Chair? I've probably got.
Nobody else is indicating, I don't think.
Oh, okay. Could I just ask then through you to the staff, there was a lot of submissions about trees and tree canopy, and I know the comment was saying nothing's changed to reduce protection. Was there something that submissions identified they thought was changing it? Like what were the submissions saying about that?
Not specifically relating to controls, just that council should be reviewing the chapters to have a look at the reasons. So we can add that into a future DCP amendment, but it wasn't one of the minor changes that we were making as part of this one.
Okay, all right. All right, okay, I think I've finished my,
Councillor Merlin, did you
thank you.
want to say something? You have a question?
No, I'm good. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, the recommendation is to adopt them. It's on the screen. Somebody want to move that? Councillor Merlin's moving it. Second? I'll second it. Is there any further debate?
Does that still need to come back to council for final?
The recommendation, yeah.
Okay.
Which says that the committee recommends that council.
Yeah.
All right, I'll put that. All those in favour? Councillor Merlin, Councillor Stanton, Councillor Eaton, against?
Just for the purpose of being able to call it up.
Councillor Welsh.
That cause.
Councillor Castles, Councillor Smith. I'll declare that carried on my casting vote. Next item, 4.2, adopted verge.
I would like to move a motion.
Yeah, do we, acting director, have you got any comments on this first or not?
No, that's just that it's in response to the council resolution of 26th of May, and there's some different options and I guess information provided from there.
Okay, Councillor Stan.
I would like to move the staff recommendation with a small edit of determines a final adopt a verge program in accordance with Model A, the delivery Model A, to make it sound better, within the adopted budget. And then in number 2, we can just delete the once the program is determined and finalised, because we are doing that now.
There was a seconder for that. Councillor Merlin, thank you.
No, adopt a verge program in accordance with delivery Model A within the adopted budget, as it says there. And then number 2 is right.
Okay, you want to speak to it, Councillor Stanton?
Yeah, sure, very quickly. Yes, as the acting director has, this report has come about from the council resolutions, which
Councillor Merlin.
was initiated by my notice of motion to develop a program called the Adoptive Urge Program, which kind of combines a few different programs across council and creates a further funding source, which has just come about from the budget that we have just adopted last week. And so this program will have the $100,000 that we have put forward, and also the $35,000 that is in the existing program that is now incorporated into this entire program. And it is intended that the money will be spread across this tree program across the whole Central Coast, and it's not confined to a single area. And ultimately is to reduce heat island effect and improve street canopy. So I think this is a good outcome overall, and I'm pleased with the delivery models from the staff and the work that they have put into getting us a good value for money in terms of the amount of trees that we can plant, and that residents can have input into as well, being 4,000 to 5,300, which is the Model A.
Chair, can I just
Hang on, Councillor.
when you're ready?
Councillor Millen, you wish to speak as a seconder?
No, I'm happy to second.
Okay, Councillor Walsh.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I would like, through you to the acting director, please. I'm feeling that neither model is necessarily like an evidence-based one. So I'd just like to ask some clarifying questions if I can. Do we know what suburbs have the lowest canopy?
Through you, Chair, might put to the Mr. Schreier.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm not sure if we've got, maybe the manager open space can help me identify the exact lowest canopy, but I know that there was the report done on the urban heat island effect in the last few years, which did identify the greatest impacted areas being the peninsula, as I recall, and Gorican.
Yes.
And the entrance, and I think Long Jetty. I think about 12 others.
Hear that, Councillor Walsh, and also the entrance by the sound of it.
And Long Jetty, I heard.
Yes.
Yes. So, so given that those suburb areas and give or take a couple of others possibly that could be added there, do we know from evidence that those suburbs actually experience the greatest heat, like urban heat experiences?
Through you, Chair. That was the report, was actually about the urban heat effect. So it identified the peninsula was by far I think the highest.
Yes.
That with the other, but yes, that's what the report was about, the urban heat effect.
Thank you, Mr. Shearer, for that. So I guess this is where I'm heading with these questions, that this is what I'm concerned about in terms of either model, actually. And I guess then I'd like to ask about the areas that have the greatest social disadvantage in terms of urban heat effect and in terms of lacking in tree canopy. I mean, some suburbs, and certainly a suburb, say, like Patonga, which has, doesn't necessarily fall on the social disadvantage scale, but also does have does have a pretty good tree canopy. And I don't know if it falls into the urban heat island in that ward like the peninsula does, even though it's relatively near the peninsula. So I'm concerned about areas that experience greater social disadvantage than some others that also might be experiencing a lack of tree canopy and intense heat.
Through you, Chair. I can only speak on experience. I haven't done a lot of background checks on this, But with the ones that were identified as heat, they're not all low socioeconomic ones that we include, like Baddo Bay, Black Walls, Blue Bay, Booker Bay, Davistown, Long Beach, Gorican, Carrion, Killarney Vale, Lake Haven, Long Jetty, Point Frederick, St Hubert's Island, the entrance north to Woon Bay, Yamina Beach, Woy Woy and West Gosford. Some of the areas of greater, I guess, disadvantage aren't identified on the list.
So what were you reading out just then?
That is the 12 priority heat island suburbs.
All right, Councillor Smith, you were next. Yep.
Well, I was just going to ask staff to talk to the two options report, of course, but it wasn't, in my view, it wasn't compelling either way. I think the second option was more staff doing the work rather than the owners. Is that the major difference? And so therefore there'd be less trees ultimately planted.
Through you, Mr. Chair. The options were based on, I guess, some direction we were given to try to identify, I guess, getting more trees in the ground for the same amount of money. There's sort of multiple ends of the scale. If we plant them all themselves, we do all the due diligence, we do all the planting, do the maintenance. It's an extensive cost, and the risk is a bit lower. If we get them to do planting, we can get a lot more trees out, but the risk varies either way. Like some of the things that we, if you're happy for me to share some of the I guess the staff concerns for the community is if they plant over, and a great example is as an Ocean Beach Road, Yamina, there is a running up Ocean Beach Road in the footpath is an Optus cable, and if it's broken, I think it's a $250,000 a minute fine. Yeah, because it is the full. So there's certain areas that they shouldn't plant. We can tell them to do all due diligence. So
is that a dole before you dig kind of thing?
So that the dole before you dig thing says if you dig, and like we recently planted 200 trees in the peninsula, and dole before you dig actually knocked a few of them on the head and said you cannot do it here. If you do, you're liable. So it's about it'd be a strong education program to the people to say if you're going to plant here, do due diligence.
So just to be clear on the process, then people, so we're advertising it. Anybody can make an application. I want a tree on my verge. Then what happens?
It depends on the model.
Well, let's say Model A. Let's go with Model A.
Luke, you might have to talk about Model A. That's more all natural environment side of things.
Your Model A, it's really going to be reliant on that self-regulation and self-assessment to identify. We'd have to provide the guidelines and have those neighbouring owners identify whether they have a suitable location planted on the verge or not. So council would pretty much be hands off. There'd be no confirmation as to whether those locations were appropriate to be planted. We'd have to work out the details still, but the model would effectively be that we would need to set up a system where we could collect the information off the applicants. So, we're handing out one per person or whatever it may be, and they would have to book in a time to visit Erina Depot Nursery. Staff would advise them of appropriate species for their area, and they become a collector.
Okay, so I decide I want a tree on my verge. I put in an application. Maybe it tells me to go and look at dole before you dig, check that there's nothing underlined. Council looks at it, maybe looks at a map, see where it's going to be.
It would be a self-assessment. So we provide guidelines.
It's not even assessed. Council just says, okay, we've still got 5 trees left, we'll give you one.
Yeah, you'd have a system which says this is your self-assessment checklist. Make sure you go through, tick all these things. And if they've ticked them all, I presume that would authorise them in the system to come and collect a plant from the nursery.
Okay.
And there'd be a voucher system.
Local provenance, native, shade tree, shrub. What's the story?
Yeah, I think we go with the species list, which is identified in the the urban street design manual. However, at the nursery, because we're focusing on provenance native stock, that's
And
probably
trees or tube stock?
the proposal here is for
200 mil. Yeah.
So the smaller we go, the more we can produce for the price, but it's probably about the smallest we would recommend for a nature strip, so it doesn't get destroyed. If someone was caring for it, it's probably pushing the limits at 200.
So if 4,000 people on the peninsula get their form in, we get 4,000 trees on the peninsula? Take it in first?
I guess we've got to.
Just preparing for the Facebook post.
I guess we've got to figure out the detail. We'd want to have some sort of mechanism, I think, that allowed for a fair distribution across the LGA.
That's what I wanted to ask about.
Hang on, Councillor Castles. Councillor Walsh. Councillor Castles is next.
With the Model A, where people would, as we've gone through, come and get their tree or plant at least, and obviously, it's a self-assessment process. Is there anything that we've worked out yet in terms of? I know that then you are personally responsible for the tree if you're the one who's planted it. As we all know, sometimes things do not thrive. Is there anything going to be built into the system of application where, for example, if somebody plants their tree and then believes they've looked after it, and perhaps they have, or there's some adverse weather effects that's impacted on it, is there something that we're going to have there that would say, okay, come get another tree, or bad luck, you've had your tree? I mean, I can just imagine, not because I'm trying to play the devil's advocate at all, because I actually, I think there's a lot of merit, in anything that involves us having more, shade tree, urban trees, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm just wondering how we as a council would be going to manage that sort of side of it, because, it's almost inevitable that it will happen.
I think that'd be part of the working through and putting in the process.
Yeah.
Have to do that.
Okay.
I think that could be one of
It would have to be covered somewhere, wouldn't it?
as well. So
I think we're delving into the operational issues now.
Probably am, but
Councillor Merlin, did you want to say something earlier?
No, I think it's great. It's been shared across the coast. Gorokan's been mentioned before. It's a disadvantaged area. I think it's great that some of those areas are getting their fair share. So I'd like to see this initiative move forward.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Walsh.
Yeah, just on the back of those other questions, I through you, Chair, to Mr. Zakowski or Acting Director, and I really appreciate the work that's gone into and the thought that's gone into the models that have been suggested, the either or models that have been suggested. Would you have a view of which one in particular might have more success at creating the greatest public benefit, like i.e. in terms of the greatest need, and addressing that greatest need, and that's however that could be worked in terms of assessment, or do you have a view on that?
For you, Mr. Chair, I guess the difference in the model. One, the Model B was that when they were given away, they put the trees when the giveaways in Model B, they plant the trees in their own property, so they're not being affected by, I guess, the person who parks his car on the front verge, or the what do you call him, the postie who drives it on the verge, or something like that. So there was a sort of an allowance to maintain the council's current planting, which is about 100 trees a year, with us doing the due diligence, but the 3,000 trees going into private land. The other one focuses on the private land only. Historically, when we plant a lot of trees, the survival rate, we normally plant like 75 litre pots, so the trees are probably 8 foot wide. They're quite expensive. We pay $350 it's over $300 a tree. But that the survival rate's probably around the 80% mark. I don't know what the survival rate would be on a 200 mil pot. I've never planted them in public places.
Okay, thank you. All right, any more debate?
Yeah.
We'll go to
Okay, so I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, but just pushing the point a little bit about, I'm not exactly sure that I was hearing a clear answer there. Sorry, Mr. Chair, about which model staff might consider provides the greatest public benefit. There might be some council benefit there that I was hearing, but not necessarily greatest public benefit.
Look, I don't know, my opinion, I don't even know how to put it, but 4,000 trees, if they all survive, is better than 3,000.
Right.
But the survival numbers will be unknown. It's probably, we need to test it, test how it works. Some of the considerations we need to determine is that only the house owner who can determine, because if it goes to, say, a local group who likes to plant a lot of trees, if they plant 4 trees in the front of someone's property, those trees won't last the 24 hours. They will just hit them with the mower. So it's what the conditions we put around by giving those trees. Like the 200, when we done the planting on the peninsula this year, we got lots of requests. I think it was 1,900 requests for tree planting. We prioritised them based on the planting strategy. Then we went out to every single household and said, do you want a tree planted? Because a lot of the times the requests for trees on properties weren't by the house owners. And the ones where the house owners come back and said, no, we didn't want this, we don't want it, we didn't plant there because the trees will not survive. If that person boater his caravan out front and we plant a tree there, it won't be there. I can't tell you the best model. We can just give you whatever evidence we've got through, I guess,
of course. Of course.
I think we need to move on. Councillor Sand,
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess briefly, just I think having, you know, a larger amount of trees that are still in survivable amounts in terms of their size is a better outcome for the community and achieves its purpose that people are requesting us to have street trees. And as the staff have said, the alternate model is for that to be in private property and backyards. And there is still nothing stopping every single resident from going out and purchasing their own trees and planting a forest in their backyard. But if we are going to use public funds, council funds, I think that they should be expended in public places as a priority. Should there be leftover trees, that could be worked out later. So I think this model offers a really good amount of trees for a great public benefit.
I wonder.
Let's close the debate, Councillor Castle.
An amendment, but anyway.
Sorry, the debate's been closed. You can vote it down, obviously. All right, I'll put that. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Yeah, that's the. Okay, Councillor Milne, Councillor Castles, Councillor Stanton, Eaton. Against, Councillor Smith, Councillor.
Abstaining.
And Councillor Walsh against.
Abstaining.
All right, I declare that carried. Move on to the next item. 3, the homeless. Actually sent to a motion to the staff on this item. Move once we get it up. I can't read it from here. Government doesn't help either. Okay, yeah. So can you read that, councillors?
Yeah.
Basically, it's just saying right to the landowner, being the government, for permission to use the caravan park site for short camping, and second part to explore Park Wild. It's an alternate or additional location. I'll speak to it briefly. Oh, sorry, I'll need a second before I speak to it. Is there a seconder? It's Councillor. Millen, you're seconding?
Oh, second. Okay.
So I'll speak to it. I was very disappointed with the report from the staff. Doesn't seem to realise that been at Park at Gorican for about 4 months now. And that is a much worse situation than alternate situations such as Koala Park or potentially Woodbury Park. I was actually got feedback today that people now, there isn't enough room for parking for the people who want to use that park. It's well used. It's got the fisherman co-op now, so their business is being affected by the illegal campers there. It's also got the Tootley Art Society there, so their members are having trouble parking. And yet, somewhere that appears to be less problematic in there is given a panning by the staff. There doesn't seem to be any recognition that, well, we've got a problem here, and yes, it's not a perfect solution, but surely it's a better solution. And I'll speak briefly about Woodbury Parks. So for those of you who don't know it, it's out the back of Weil. The park is in 2 parts with a lagoon, I suppose you'd call it, or a pond in the middle. The part at the intersection of Old Maitland Road and Lawson Road is well used and very popular, but the other side of the park, near where Council's pump station is not used at all. There is a parking area there for cars, so there's room for people to park, and there is a toilet there, and it seems to get very little use, that part in particular. So I would ask that one also be looked at. I think that's all I really need to say. As I say, it would be nice if we didn't have to look at things like this. It would be nice if we didn't have this problem, but we do.
I'll move an amendment. It's just staff recommendation number 1 that we note the Koala Park relocation of homeless report. If I have a seconder.
I'll second that.
That's fine.
What I would say is I thought the staff report was just you're reading in a sort of judgment about the staff report. I thought it was a factual report that said this was not permitted on that site. I mean, it was pretty clear cut. I didn't think it was trying to embellish or misinterpret the situation. So it also said that Koala Park was a highly utilised area. So it's a really inappropriate place for what you're trying to do. Equally, I'm a little bit familiar with Woodbury Park. I'm certainly aware that some school groups use that at different times. So I would be concerned about what you're proposing there, even though I think you're directing it towards the pumping station. So I don't know if that's a suitable location either. Not near public transport, which we've identified as something that is desirable in these circumstances. So I think what you're doing is trying to hide the problem, put the problem out of public view rather than solve the problem. I find that quite abhorrent and offensive. So I would move the amendment, which is just notes the Koala Park relocation of homeless report.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Is there a second?
I seconded that.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillors, you wish to speak?
Yes, I will speak. Look, I think one of the things that I definitely agree regarding the staff report. I certainly followed this up myself many months ago, and basically I received the same information. You know, the issue is that in the end, even looking at the it's completely unsuitable. You've got the whole issue of not being near anything. Really, it's sort of is totally unsuitable if you consider the fact that some people who are experiencing homelessness often have mental health issues, other issues as well. Some people are simply can find nowhere to live. Now, having people somewhere without any support, which is really what it ends up coming down to, and if we're doing that as a council, we have some liability as well. And I know everybody gets concerned about liability, but if you decide as a council you're going to locate people in a certain place, then you bear some responsibility for that. Now, I think it's a very difficult situation. I totally get that. It seems to me that we've made no efforts whatsoever to engage with some of the, and I know that staff here have, but we haven't engaged with any of the homelessness support agencies or anything to say, hey, what do you reckon? How could this work? These are the experts who are dealing with this on the coalface every day, who need to be listened to when you're trying to come up with a temporary solution for an absolutely dreadful problem. So I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you, Councillor Walsh.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And I'll speak in support of Councillor Smith's amendment too. And just feel a bit confused as to what it is about the report that you are kind of so offended by, because I think the particular line that jumps off the page is consideration of Koala Park for temporary accommodation for people experiencing homelessness is forbidden by the lease conditions. And I like Councillor Castles and Councillor Smith, just find the staff report quite illuminating and actually really helpful in terms of us trying to progress any particular options that, you know, council might be able to pursue in the future. I think the suggestion of Koala Park is almost like an out of sight, out of mind one, but added to the fact that what you were looking for, what you were wanting is actually forbidden under the lease. Add that to the kinds of risk factors that Councillor Castles has, risks for council, that Councillor Castles has alluded to or outlined there. I think Councillor Smith's amendment is a very cogent one.
Thank you. Councillor Milland.
My opinion is it's a global issue. Everyone's trying to find a solution. It's challenging. I don't think there is a right or wrong solution. I think when you look at the way countries handle this around the world, I think they're trialling things. I think there's something that potentially should be trialled. I'm not going to knock the staff report. I think the staff report has provided the facts. However, I think we should be looking for potential solutions, the number of concerned citizens. And I've got to say, if this was a homeless camp at Terrigal, I think the Terrigal community be up in arms. It was at the Gosford waterfront, they'd be up in arms. Just because it's up on the Forgotten North, I don't think we shouldn't listen to our residents as well. So it's a really difficult situation. I won't be supporting the amendment, but will be putting up a different recommendation at the end to look. Koala Park is off the table. Let's look at other solutions to trial something. Let's work with our state and federal agencies. Let's work with police, and let's see if there's something that we can do to rehome these people, because look, it's such a hard situation, but we can't just let these camps build and build and build and impact local infrastructure, impact local residents as well.
Thank you, Councillor Millen.
Could I just ask a question of Councillor Castles? Does the community and culture, is that a forum that also considers the challenge of homelessness?
Well, yes, that's correct. Even with the change where affordable housing, etc., has moved over to the Environment and Planning Directorate, homelessness still remains with community and culture, Community and Recreation Services Directorate.
Can I request
confirm that?
I won't bother trying to get in the motion, but whether It can go on the agenda for the community.
Yeah, I intend to speak to the director about it.
Councillor Walsh, you've spoken.
I know. I just actually wanted to say through you, Chair, to Councillor Merlin, I don't disagree with you. Certainly about, the idea of the people in Terrigal being up in arms if there was a camp. I think they'd be more than up in arms. Same at the Gosford waterfront, wherever. But that also actually still glosses over the issue of homelessness being a coast-wide, Australia-wide. It's actually not necessarily a fully global issue. I'm not saying it doesn't exist in other places. I myself in late 2019 and early 2020 was so profoundly confronted by the street homelessness in the United States, in lots of cities in the United States. But our council is already working with state and federal and police, and we've had a number of presentations from police at our council, and we've had state members attend as well, David Meehan and Liesl Tesh. I think that it's good to probably recognise that council is actually working in partnership with the state and with those agencies. I think it's just really clear from the staff report that Koala Park is not an answer.
All right, thank you. I'll close the debate with my right of reply. Well, it's interesting. Everyone recognises the problem, but nobody wants to do anything about it.
That's not fair. That's not fair. That's not accurate.
Councillor Walsh.
Yes.
I can switch you off.
You can. You can.
We'll continue. All that would be required to make Koala Park suitable is a simple lease amendment, which I'm sure the state government would actually agree to. If the committee doesn't want to do that, that's a matter for the committee. It was passed. Also asked the staff to look at other areas. So again, I've suggested another area. I'm not wedded to any particular area. I just think we need to find something, because the situation at Peace Park, and before that at Jenny Dixon, before that at Picnic Point, is untenable. It's not fair on the local residents in those areas and the people who want to use those facilities who pay good money in their rates to do so. And when you've got Councillor Smith,
committee is
Councillor Smith,
yeah.
Councillor Smith, please do not interrupt. I don't interrupt you when you're speaking. So you've successfully put me off my train of thought. It's a situation that is unacceptable in terms of where these encampments are and the effect on those areas. As I said, when you're talking at Peace Park, you've actually got a business being affected. And you think that's reasonable and unreasonable. Well, I don't think it is, and I think we need to do whatever we can to try and find a solution. And as I said, I'm not wedded to it having to be Koala Park, having to be Woodbury Park, but nobody else is coming up with any alternative whatsoever. At least I'm trying to do something to assist these people. All right, I'll put the amendment, which is Councillor Smith's amendment, I think. Those in favour of the amendment? Councillor Walsh, Councillor Smith, the Castles, against? Councillor Stanton, Councillor Eaton, Councillor Merlin. So the amendment's lost. Councillor Merlin, did you want to move a foreshadowed amendment?
Yes, I do. Chair, can you go back to your original motion so it's on the screen, please?
Certainly.
Yeah.
That wasn't the original motion.
Yeah, sorry, your amendment to the staff report.
Mine was a motion, so you're right in that respect. Yeah, that's it now. Can you read that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would like part two change that council seeks alternative solutions and continues to work with state and federal agencies to assist with resolving this issue.
All right, is there a seconder for that? Stanton, thank you. I think we've debated it. I'm happy to put that as the amendment. Does everyone understand what it is? Okay, wait till we get the wording up, sure.
Alternative solutions and works with state agencies. Mullen.
Councillor Mellon, can you repeat it again?
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted A, B, and C removed. That council considers alternative locations and continues to work with our state and federal agencies to find a long-term solution to assist with the homelessness issue on the Central Coast. The state and federal agencies. Chair, have I frozen again, or is it on your end?
So at the time.
No, they're just typing, putting your words,
Thank you.
which takes a little time.
So it should read that council seeks alternative locations and continues to work with state and federal agencies to find a long-term solution to homelessness in our region.
Chair, can I just ask Councillor Moreland if you'd consider just in the second part, just including somewhere about and support services, not the council provides support services, but the state and federal agencies, because otherwise it still just reads as let's shift them to a different location. I know you mentioned long-term solution to homelessness, but if you could just introduce support services, that would give me a degree of comfort that you're actually interested in that aspect of it. Yeah.
Look, absolutely, and that was the intent of working with our state and federal agencies, but I'm happy to change that wording.
Yeah. We're saying to provide support services and find a long-term solution. Yeah.
I'm happy with that.
Okay, well, that was moved by Councillor Millen, seconded by Councillor Stanton. I think it doesn't sound like there's any objection to that now.
Yeah, I'd just like to comment briefly. I mean, I think that is a better option. I will just note council is already doing that, and we have various strategies in place. But I think anything that sort of gives it a nudge and shows ongoing support is a good thing. Thank you.
All right, I'll put that all as in favour. Unanimous.
Sorry.
Okay, next item is the fire safety report on Donison Street. Want to move that?
Yep.
Moves Councillor Stanton, seconded Councillor Moreland. Is there any discussion on this one? I think it's straightforward, isn't it? I'll put it, all those in favour? Carried unanimously, thank you. Planning proposal statistics. Moved by Councillor Stanton. Second, Councillor Moreland. I thought. Oh no, it's all right, not this one. Yep. Everyone happy with that? Yep, all right, put it, all those in favour? Carried unanimously. Development assessment statistics 4.6. Moved by Councillor Stanton. Second, Councillor Moreland. This is the one that I thought it might be appropriate for the committee to maybe note or even congratulate the staff in terms of the ADA.
Yeah, why don't we move the staff rec as a number one,
Yeah.
and then number two, which is congratulates the staff and acknowledges the fast track process for DAs.
I'm happy to second that. I agree.
Happy with that?
There was a new accelerated development
Yeah.
application process.
ADA, yeah. Deputy Attorney, it's District Attorney, but that's all right, I'll put those, all those in favour. Oh, thank you, Councillor Walsh. That's carried unanimously. 4.7, state significant development and major applications. Moved by Councillor Moreland. Second by Councillor Castles. Any discussion on this one? Hearing anything? All right, I'll put it, all those in favour? Carried unanimously. That's the end of the business. So I note the next meeting is held at 7 o'clock on, well, maybe 7 o'clock on Tuesday, the 4th of August at the Wine Administration Building. And just to clarify that for those who weren't here at the Economic Development Committee, it's going to go to bi-monthly. And so there may be a change to the time, not necessarily the date. We don't know.
We won't mind that if that's the case.
But at this stage, it'd still be at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone for your attendance. I'll now declare the meeting closed at 8:22.
Thanks, Chair.
Bye, guys.